Welcome to Pulling Purse Strings. I'm Kara Bates Jennings. Today we have in the studio my dear friend Mildred Walters. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Pulling Purse Strings. I'm Kara Bates Jennings. Today we're talking with Mildred Walters. How are you, Mildred?
I'm very well, Kara. Thank you so much for having me today.
Well, thank you for being here. I have a lot of respect for you. I've heard your name so many times in the community, and I feel just honored that I have had the privilege of getting to know you and just really appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you.
So, Mildred, if you would share with us a little of your background and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a native Nashvilleian. You don't see too many of those around.
No.
But I graduated from East Nashville High School. I went away to college, and I stayed away for 20 years, and I've been back for 20 years.
Wow.
I have a husband, 2 adult children, and grandchildren.
That's great. And then what about some wonderful things you've done in your career? Share with us.
I've done everything. There's a lot of time to spend working and having fun. I have taught every grade from kindergarten to graduate school. I have worked for nonprofit organizations. I've worked with United Way in Washington, D.C., St. Louis, Missouri, Tampa, Florida, and Chattanooga, Tennessee. I taught human resource management at Tennessee State University. I was director of the Nashville Business Incubation Center for 10 years. And I've owned my own business simultaneously with many of those career choices.
Wow, so you've had 3 or 4 careers at once.
Yes, and I've written 4 novels,
wow,
romance novels, and I have self-published a book. It's called The Biblical Guide to Selecting Your Ultimate.
Is that right? How can people find your books if they wanted to order them?
They're all on Amazon.com.
On Amazon.com. Just search for your name as the author?
Well, actually, the romances are written under a pseudonym because I didn't want to mix those 2 lives, and they're written under my middle name and my maiden name, which is Christine Townsend.
Really? That is so interesting. Gosh, I love it. That's something I didn't know about you.
Yeah.
You're always talking about your nonprofit, not yourself, so I appreciate you sharing that.
Sure.
So, and then tell us about the nonprofit where you work. You're the program director?
Correct. I'm the program director at Pathway Women's Business Center. We opened our doors in January. We were started with a grant from the Small Business Administration. This time last year, our president, Amy Button, was pushing the button on her proposal to the Small Business Administration. There are 110 women business centers in the United States, and last year we were one of 6 to receive new funding, first-time funding. Wow. So they spent from September to January preparing the building, preparing the programming to open the doors in January, and I started in February. Since then, we have offered about 42 different classes. We've served over 200 women in the past 6 months.
Wow, you must be so proud of that.
Yes, and I'm a little exhausted too.
Well, you look great. You don't look tired. You must be good at faking it.
Well, there's so much energy in what I do, and I think that what I do impacts the lives of not just women but families. You know, the old saying is, if you teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime, but if you teach a woman to fish, she'll have a fish fry and raise funds for a new school and invite all her friends over and sell tickets.
Wait, can I write that down after this? That is the best thing I think I've heard in a long time. I love it. I'm going to call that a Mildredism.
Okay.
And if you would share with us, too, just a little bit more about how your nonprofit helps people.
We provide services to women who are either in business, thinking about starting a business, and it doesn't matter where they are in their journey. We meet them wherever they are. Some people have been flying by the seat of their pants for 20 years and don't know how they have survived so long. Wow. But when they come to us, we help them develop a structure and build a business model that they can scale out. Perhaps they haven't taken a vacation because they can't leave the business. So we work on developing systems so that the business will run when the owner is not present.
Wow, that is so interesting. And I heard something, forgive me, I can't remember the terms they said, some way to celebrate what you've done, a purge. center?
Oh, yes. We have clinics all around the center because we have purchase. Sometimes people are just so overwhelmed with the burden of carrying their business, and when they meet us and they find people who understand what they're going through, because being an entrepreneur is unique.
Yes.
Everybody in the family may not be an entrepreneur. I'm working with a woman now who is making a decision to leave a long time stable career that anybody would be proud to have, and she's making the decision to step out and to start her own business. And her mother is trying to encourage family members to tell her that's a bad mistake. So when she came to us and we said, we understand what you're trying to do and this is the best way you can have success, because we try to mitigate the risk of entrepreneurship. So we said, okay, these are the things that you need to do to be sure you're successful. And she spent the next few minutes crying just from relief that she had found somebody who could support her dream.
Oh, I have to tell you, that touches my heart and brings a tear to my eye. I mean, really, that I can only imagine she must have sat down with you all and just felt like, oh, like-minded people, they get me.
Yes, and that's what we have there. We're trying to build a community, and I think that we have it. We have a community where it's not me, it's not the president, the owner, or any of the people on staff, but the women have come in and taken ownership of the program. So sometimes they coach each other.
Wow. Oh, you're really touching my heart with that story. That is just beautiful. I feel like I can relate to that personally, and I've had friends have that feeling as well. I mean, I can really imagine from your perspective, you must just feel so happy and so rewarded that you're helping her in that way.
I feel so proud of all the women that come through the center, and everybody is on a journey, and they're at different stages of the journey. They've had different experiences, but to be an entrepreneur requires a passion that few people understand. And to be an entrepreneur, you have to be willing to do things that other people aren't willing to do, to make sacrifices. But then you can live a much different life than the general population lives.
Oh, I'm sure. And if you would educate us, what are really the differences, would you say, between maybe a male versus a female entrepreneur? I guess I'm asking you to stereotype a little bit and speak in generalities.
Well, we did spend a lot of time gathering anecdotal information to women who visited the center in the early days. We talked to dozens and dozens of women. And one of the things that they told us is that they did not want to be part of a crowd. They have been in entrepreneurial programs where there may be 200 people in the audience and someone was just speaking to them. They wanted an interactive environment. So we intentionally kept our classes at 20. You may come there and find that there are just 3 people in a class. But when that first slide goes up in a PowerPoint presentation, sometimes the hand goes up and a conversation starts. And the facilitator has to be comfortable not getting through this whole slide deck. Because if the questions dictate that this is where the interest is, then they have to have the flexibility to respond.
Oh, yes, exactly. And then what about how women and men maybe think differently or speak differently? I guess it's a different conversation? Is that
yes.
fair to say?
Have you noticed this? I have 4 sisters. So in our house, women talked a lot, and my brothers were amazed that we would have parallel conversations but understand each other. You know, my sister would be talking on one subject, I'd be talking on another, but we could answer each other and track it, and the guys couldn't track. That's one thing that I know for sure. The other thing is, women sometimes start talking and they will start throwing out their ideas before the ideas are formulated. We talk as we're thinking. I call it thinking out loud. And men get frustrated because what we said may not be what we meant, and that's not the final decision.
Right.
You know, I may say to my husband, you know, we could go to the beach, but I was thinking about going to the mountains. I always have a lot of fun at the beach, and then the next day I will say, I made reservations for us to go to New York. And he'll say, well, where's the beach in New York? And I said, well, I was just thinking about all those things. That's not where I intended to go.
I never wanted to go to the beach or the mountains in the first place.
Yeah, I was just trying it on, you know. I was just thinking aloud. We'll go to the beach later.
That's right. It's almost like we're trying on clothes, right? We'll try on 100 things, leave, don't get anything there, you know.
And how do men shop.
Right, exactly. Go in, I know what I want.
If he goes to Macy's, he goes straight to Macy's. And I said, well, you didn't look in Dillard's. And he said, well, I found what I wanted in Macy's. And I said, well, let's go see what Dillard's has.
Exactly. Well, and of course, I love the differences in men and women. I appreciate it. You know, it's fun. If we were all the same, it'd be so boring, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And, you know, we do welcome men at the Women's Business Center. I have to be sure to tell you that about 5% of our clients are male at this point.
Wow.
And they're comfortable there. We say that any man can enter and take advantage of our programs if they've had a mother, a sister, or a daughter that taught them how to act. Because sometimes in environments where there are men and women, women's voices are not heard. And at the center, we want to be sure that women can be heard. Another difference between men and women, Erin Andrew is with the Small Business Administration in Washington, D.C., and she's over the Women-Owned Business Program. And one of the things that she pointed out to us is that women are used to being asked to do things. We're used to being invited. We don't go out and ask for what we want. For instance, when you went on your first date, you didn't ask the guy to take you out in most cases. The guy asked you. When you became engaged, you didn't ask the man to marry you. The man asks you. So when you want a raise on a job, you don't say, okay, it's time for me to get a raise. In most cases, you wait for somebody to say, you're doing such a good job, we're going to give you more money. And one of the things that we have to work with women with over and over again is to ask for what you want. So you asked me about how I came to work for the Women's Business Center. I asked for the job. I was self-employed as a professional business coach, and in many of the businesses that I worked with could not pay me. And I said, okay, how can I find somebody that will pay me to work with these people? Because by the time they decide they need a coach, they're in pain, but they're also out of money. People don't pay for things that, you know, they got to have a pain point. But usually that pain point is, hey, I don't have cash flow. So I said, who will pay me? And I started looking at the Small Business Administration. And I knew that Pathway Lending had written a grant to start a women's business center in Nashville. And I went and asked, can I be a part of this? At first, I thought I would just deliver some of the programming. But the more I talked about it and the more I read, I said, oh, I want to run this baby. This is right up my alley. I got the experience. I can do this. So I called the president of Pathway Lending, Clint Gwynn, and said, I'd like to have an appointment with you. I would like to find out more about your Women's Business Center. And before I left that day, I asked for the job. And he said, well, yeah, we have a lot of people that want the job. So I just said, I'm probably the best person.
I love it. All of it. I feel like I could learn so much from you. Could I have you over for dinner one night, please?
Sure.
I'm going to need a lot more time with you, Mildred. And share with me, I wish we didn't even have to wrap up, but before we go, I really need to ask you a couple more things. What tips would you have for an entrepreneur, a budding entrepreneur? They want to take that step to reach out to you all. What should they do?
They can always go to our website and look at some of the programs that we offer. We have a variety of classes that are for women who are at different stages in the lifestyle of their business. For instance, we have things for pre-startup, startup, as well as for people who are veterans in the business world.
Wow. And what tips would you have for some budding entrepreneurs?
I would say develop systems. I'm really big on systems. Create processes so that you're not doing everything yourself. Decide the things that you have to do, that you alone can do, and everything else contract out. It doesn't take much to get a virtual assistant. When I was in business, I had a virtual assistant that I paid $15 an hour, and I only needed her for 3 to 5 hours a month. But you can't do everything yourself. You'll burn out. And the other thing that I think you should be aware of is that there are just so much help in this community. And don't wait until things have gone bad, but talk to people. Don't try to pretend that you can bootstrap it and you can do it all by yourself. You know, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. No, there's a lot of help around.
That's true. Is there a networking group that you might recommend for women business owners?
Well, one of my favorites is the National Association of Women Business Owners. We have a chapter here in Nashville. I think you are a member too.
Yes, I love NABO. I'm so glad you mentioned that.
And so many of the people who are involved in the Women's Business Center have come over and volunteered their time to help.
Wow.
Denise Fool, who is a member of NABO, delivers the accounting, tax planning, and financial management classes every month. She has an accounting firm here in Nashville. The women have just stepped up. Mary Neal Price just did. She's an attorney with McKinsey Laird, and she just did a workshop on contracts. Our Let's Talk session was on contracts.
That is wonderful. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. And Mildred, I want to highlight this event for a few reasons. If someone is watching this episode, it's possible this event has already passed, but it's still an example of the wonderful events that you all host and sponsor and put on. And I know that people should go to your website, which is, you want to say it?
The website is www.pathwaywbc.org.
Yes.
pathwaywbc.org.
And they need to go to the events page, and they need to look for other events like this. But let's go ahead and share with us what this event is.
This event is going to be our capstone event. It's the Women's Automotive Academy. It's a full-day workshop. In the morning, we will actually be in a workshop teaching women the terminology for entering the automotive industry. And we'll also talk about the best ways to enter and the certifications that are necessary. We'll have a keynote speaker, Tony Cooley, who is already a major vendor for automotive industry, and then we'll have purchasing agents from the different automotive plants that can come in and tell women the best, and men, we do invite men in.
Yes.
And we will also have a panel discussion made up of Joan LaGrasse of Imagine, who is doing business with Nissan, and we'll have a couple of other people on the panel.
Wow, that is wonderful. And again, so the event is August 13th, 2015. You do not have to be a member or have reached out to your nonprofit. It's open to the public, and it's free, right?
It's free. This year, everything that we do is free. This is the best year to be involved with us because we're friend-raising this year. And next year, there will be a fee because we will start needing funds. But right now, the SBA grant is allowing us to offer programming at no charge.
Yes. Well, I'm honored to be a part of your fundraising. So is Talkapolis, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you for watching Pulling Purse Strings on Talkapolis.com. I'm Kara Bates Jennings. Please reach out to me through Facebook, or you could find my Twitter as well as my email on our website on Talkapolis.com/show/pulling purse strings. Also, I would love to hear your ideas for guests or topics and any feedback you have at all. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.